This is Iris Martinez, an interviewer for the Iowa State University Special Collections and University Archives Voices of a Pandemic Oral History Project. Today is Monday, April 26, 2021. I'm interviewing Kenji Nakata from Ames, Iowa, while he is in Des Moines, Iowa. Please know, Kenji, that this interview will be placed in the Iowa State University libraries and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. Because
Sounds
we're,
good.
because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record your consenting. So I'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. There are 2 questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. Voces wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation at the Benson Library at UT Austin. We will retain copyright of the interview and other materials you donate to Voces.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go first. Do you give Voces consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Benson Library?
Yes.
Do you want Voces do you grant Voces copyright over the interview and any material you provide?
Yes.
Okay. And do you agree to allow us to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes.
Okay. We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. This interview form is kept in a secure Voices server. Before we sent it to the Benson Library, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members. So that will not be a part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at Benson Library?
Yes.
On occasion, Voices receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone number or your email with journalists?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna get started with some questions that we have for you. It's just the whole purpose of this project is to see how do Latinos describe their experience during COVID-19 and try to record everything as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your experience with COVID-19?
Um, I think like overall I would judge the experience as something somewhat positive. I was already working from home by the time there were shutdowns in place. And so my fiance was also working from home, and there was little impact. Um, I had just been made some certain financial decisions earlier in the year that put me in a you know in a weird position, but overall, I think mentally was a positive experience. I don't know if
That's
that
good.
answers that question.
That's good. Okay, so how did you first learn about COVID-19? Like radio,
TV,
TV?
yeah, TV, YouTube,
Um,
commentary, people, and I initially didn't believe it. I thought it was something kind of like Ebola, you know, that. So yeah, I had a lot of stupid opinions about COVID until it got, very real.
yeah, I feel like a lot of us did at first. Like, there's
Yeah,
no way this is that big of a deal.
yeah.
Um, so your initial reaction to COVID was, could you elaborate a little bit more? What was your initial reaction to the information about COVID?
Yeah, that it was. I mean, it's just. I guess maybe I subscribed to the whole conspiracy thing initially because of just previous experiences with Ebola and all the other, diseases that were around. I subscribe to the conspiracies because they all just happen to be, happening around election time. And then suddenly, I do remember specifically around the 2012 election that Ebola was a big deal. And then right after the election, there was almost no coverage. So, because it was happening in an election year, 2020, I thought, nah, it's gonna, suddenly go away, just like Ebola. I feel like it did. Um, to be fair, I didn't follow the news or anything, as much as I do today, but it just seemed fishy. That's all. Seemed really, really fishy. So I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was just gonna be a thing where they would just make people panic. Um, I have yet to understand the reason why they do that, or if they're doing it, why that is.
Yeah, of course. So at what point did you realize that it was serious, or do you still today not think it's too
No, I
serious?
think it's serious. I think that once they started doing shutdowns and things like that, there that was different. That was definitely different because we've never done that before. That's when I realized, okay, this is why would anybody do this? Um, Purposely shut down things just to instill fear in the population. That's that was probably the turning point for me.
Yeah, for sure. When I started shutting down, I was like, this is like some,
Yeah, it's real.
yeah,
They wouldn't do this. Who benefits from shutting down businesses and schools? There's really no benefit.
yeah,
I mean, even when you try to think of outrageous, things,
yep.
you try to think of, okay, so who's gonna benefit? I don't know. I couldn't think of.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't. Not a lot. Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if I got super creative, I could probably come up with a list of five. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've heard some stuff, but it just doesn't sound reasonable. So it just seemed more real. And then also, there's been people that I know that suffered from COVID, and I know some people that unfortunately passed away from COVID. Uh, so yeah, I think that you ought to take it seriously.
Yeah.
People ought to take it seriously, not think of it as a joke or as a conspiracy.
Hmm.
I think there's plenty of evidence out there now.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to some daily impacts. How's COVID impacted you or your family members here in the United States or outside the United States?
Um, it's impacted definitely my both my parents. Um, my mom had just taken a trip to Mexico, and she has not been able to get back because of that. Um,
Oh wow.
well, I mean, it's not that she cannot do it. She could come back if she really, I mean, she just chooses not to out of fear. Um, and there were reports that the border was closed. They had some closures and they didn't want to let people back. Um, and but she can. I mean, she's a United States citizen. She can come back whenever she wants. It's just that my mom has a lot of health issues,
Hmm.
and so I think that just fuels the fear that she might contract it and might not make it. Uh, that definitely impacted my mom, and then my dad. My dad does live in Mexico permanently. He's retired, and he also has a lot of, you know, health issues because of his age. He's in his 70s, and Uh, he has respiratory illnesses, and so wearing a mask for him has been tough. He's had some issues with wearing a mask because he says that he can't breathe very well, and so nowadays he just chooses not to go outside.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, my parents definitely have been affected. Here in Iowa, I would say that um, you know my sister and I run a family business, which is a martial arts school. I mean, we obviously had to shut down
Hmm.
for a long time, so there was none of that. Um, but other than that, on a personal level, I think we've been lucky. My family has been very lucky. People that I know, people that I'm close to, have been very lucky. Even those who have contracted COVID have been very lucky to to either not have any symptoms or to just um,
Get through it.
yeah, get through it,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad nothing too devastating has happened.
Right, right. I mean, I do know people that have been, like I said earlier, but and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And but people that are very, very close to me have either gotten through it
Well,
or didn't experience any symptoms.
yeah. So, are you part of any organizations that you were part of that was impacted by COVID?
Not none other than my family business.
Okay.
Um, no.
Um.
Well, I guess I was working for Principal.
Oh, okay.
Um, and they did suffer. There was some impact because of a lot of the positions, um, a lot of the roles that they have were, traveling positions. I'm sure there was some impact. I'm not really too familiar with all that stuff, but they got through it. I mean, technology has made everything very easy. I mean, just now we have our little meeting here, and technology has definitely made things easier.
Yeah, I feel like we're learning a new whole side of technology.
Oh yeah.
We can run on technology nowadays.
Yep.
Okay, so how is going out into the world during COVID-19 different from pre-COVID?
Oh, it's just the whole mask thing. I think even though I was, super passionate about this whole thing being, fake
Mhm.
or whatever, soon as shutdowns began to occur, I was probably one of the first people to wear a mask. So that was kind of shocking how long it took people to start doing it.
Yeah,
It was kind of um I don't know. I don't know if I'm just gullible or what, but yeah, just going to the store, the supermarket, and I'm wearing a mask, and I'm like one out of 20
yeah.
wearing a mask. And then there's that pressure, the social pressure that you're just being weak
Hmm.
or you're being paranoid or you know, things like that. I mean, it's just annoying. It's mildly annoying. It's not anything that affects me,
Yeah,
but it's just mildly annoying.
yeah, it is. So, how, if at all, has COVID impacted your ability to gather with your family and friends for important events?
Um, Honestly, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. No, I mean, I don't gather with my family very often. So, and whenever there's a gathering, it's very small.
Yeah,
We've never been really overly concerned. I think that if any of us is feeling sick or something like, we would definitely tell each other
yeah,
and say, you know what, I'm not feeling great. I'm just gonna sit this one out or whatever. But as long as we've been, um, gathering or doing anything like that, I think we would just give each other a heads up. And we don't do large gatherings
okay,
in my family.
okay. So, have you interacted with any people during COVID, and what were some of the reasons that you interacted with them?
Um, so I had interactions with my landlord, and I DJ. I do weddings and stuff, so I had interactions with people. Um, and while DJing, I wear a mask.
Yeah,
So but yeah, that's about it. I've one of the cool things of social distancing is that I don't know, I'm kind of introverted, so to me it's great if people social distance. I hope we get to keep that
yeah,
after this whole thing. But that's just me. I realize people love to hug, they love to do all these things, get close to people, but I love having
your
some
space.
distance. Yeah, I love my space. I love it.
That makes sense. So how has your family changed? What do you take when you leave? Like, what's your routine now that you guys before you leave the house now that it's COVID time?
Oh yeah, it's just a mask. That's the thing. That is a thing now, and I realize that it's here to stay. It's not gonna go anywhere. Wearing a mask, I think even after everybody's been vaccinated, I think this whole thing's just opened the box for other things to happen in the future. And I'm not gonna be surprised if next year there's another thing. I think they're just here to stay. It's gonna become a cultural thing. If you A couple years back, it's almost 3 years, I went to the Grand Canyon, and there were a lot of tourists, from Korea and Japan or whatever. And some of them were wearing masks, and I was like, okay, that's a little over the top, but I think they do it out of, because they know sometimes that the air quality is not great. And that's something I learned afterwards. I know that I was like very judgmental at first. I was like, okay, dude, that's too much. But I think masks are just gonna stay. I had a person who who was from Japan in our karate place, and I saw her wear a mask one day before this whole thing started.
Mhm.
So it's a thing.
Yeah,
Our air quality sometimes is not great, and wearing a mask just I don't know if it makes sense or not, but to a lot of people it does.
yeah,
So, and also with the fact that I think it was out there that we've had the lowest flu transmissions ever because of everybody wearing a mask.
that's true.
And I started thinking about it. I haven't gotten sick since COVID started, not at all. And I think it's probably because of that, because other people, if they're a little bit sick or whatever, they're wearing a mask in public, at the store or wherever else. Um, so it makes a difference. I think the masks are gonna stay. So the routine when you leave the house is, hey baby, you got your mask, with you? It's the mask. You gotta have your mask because we're gonna walk in some place and people are gonna require a mask.
Exactly. Yeah. So that kind of rolls into my next question. How do you personally feel about the masks? Like, what is your like? What's your opinion on that? Besides that, they are
Well, I
necessary.
mean, I would rather not wear a mask, but I know I I don't like to be combative with things that just are. So I'm not gonna be that guy at the electronics store saying, "Oh, I'm free to do whatever I want." I don't want to be that guy. So I just embrace it. If it's gonna be it's gonna be a thing, and people are gonna ask you to wear a mask. I just buy a whole bunch of masks that I like and incorporate it into the wardrobe, and I'll have a mask that matches this, and
Exactly.
I try to see it as a positive thing. It doesn't have to be bad wearing a mask. I mean, it's annoying, but hey, it's gonna happen, so you
It's
just
a
gotta make
slight
the best of it.
inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Let's move on to like your community and like the education in your community. So, how, if at all, have schools helped your community during COVID-19? Like, have they distributed food? Have they gave students technology accommodations? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea about that because I mean, my niece and my nephew, they're both in school. I know I know they were affected by, you know, having to do school at home and um, but as far as any things that they've done, I have no clue, no
Okay.
clue.
So, how about your own education? Has it been disrupted by a result of COVID-19?
No, I've actually I'm self-educated and I mean I just I do it every day. You
Yep.
know, out of yeah, I do it every day regardless of COVID. I'm always learning something new.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so let's move on to like some healthcare questions. What kind of concerns or questions about healthcare have emerged as a result of COVID?
I mean, all the things I've heard about it, and I know it's an ongoing process. Learning about COVID and its effects. It's still really early to really know exactly how it affects, you know, healthy people long term.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of things that are kind of scary, you know, with the whole heart disease and uh, you know, I've heard things like that or read things about that. There are some long-term effects of having contracted COVID, um, and you know, just getting through it.
Yeah.
So uh, yeah, definitely there are some concerns, but then again, everything else that you get will have some long-term effects. I think anything that you catch is gonna have something.
Yep. I agree. So how is it changing the way you're doing or getting healthcare?
Well, no, it hasn't changed really. I do a year physical, and it did change the way I eat, and it changed the way, you know, just being more active. I've been trying to be more active as of late, um, just to try to be healthier,
Mm.
overall, and yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
Okay. What about any mental health impacts or challenges during this past year?
I think I was born for this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's had any single impact. I think that anybody that knows me would know for sure that I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that I can avoid people and have a perfectly good excuse for it.
Yeah.
It's getting increasingly harder nowadays that everything is reopening, especially here in Iowa. Everything is reopened. Everything is seems to be going back to normal. Honestly, everywhere I go now, it just looks normal, um, with the exception of masks. I went to two restaurants yesterday. One of them I couldn't even get a table because it was going to be like a 30-minute wait. So that's how normal, you know, is returning. And so it's getting harder, you know, to use COVID as an excuse to gather.
Yeah. Soon they're gonna be like, well, you can come out, just wear your mask.
Yeah, yeah, wear your mask. Yeah.
Um, so you said you're fine with that. How about the vaccine? Are you getting the vaccine? Are you having any problems registering?
No, I haven't even tried. And I don't have any hesitancy problems with the vaccine as I just haven't planned for it. Um, Probably will happen sometime, you know, next month or I know they're still like low in supply, so it's still pretty hard to get one. One of my friends had to go outside of Des Moines to get hers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had to go somewhere else because in the state of Iowa, I think that you can get it as long as it's available.
Hmm.
Uh, they open the availability to all age groups, so you can get it as long as it's available, and if it's available elsewhere, then you can get it elsewhere. I think.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on that.
I think that's true. I think everybody can get it at this point as long as, you have
They
it.
want it,
Yeah.
and it's available.
Hmm. So, um,
It's kind of like that toilet paper. You know you couldn't get it, so I wasn't looking for it. Uh, and right now I'm kind of the same. Like I don't like to go and fight people over the vaccine. I'll just let everyone get theirs, and then I'll get mine when it's more readily available.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've touched this a little bit, but let's go into some politics. How do you believe politics affected how COVID has been handled?
Yeah, it's 100% politics. It's 100. It's too bad that politics has been mixed with a health issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad, but yeah, I see that there's a lot of politics injected into this stuff. Yeah, totally. I think politics needs to get out of health related problems and let the health professionals take the lead when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah. So how do you think COVID affected politics in your area, like here in Iowa or nationally even?
Oh, big time, big time. I think I've witnessed, myself, people, refusing to wear a mask and making a big scene about it. Um, and not just once or twice. It's been a few times that I've seen people do that. Yeah, it's just to me. I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna get overly passionate about that. It's just mildly annoying to me. I just get annoyed with people. Okay, dude, just wear the mask.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Just wear the mask.
Yep.
And I've seen politicians say, it's theater, but wearing a mask when you've been vaccinated is theater. But I think asking those questions is theater. Asking those questions. That's the real theater.
Yep.
That they do things for the cameras.
Yep. Of course.
I don't know if that's too much, but I think that is sort of relevant.
No,
That
sure.
people want to make an issue, a political issue, out of a health issue.
Yeah, like of science, which is sometimes hard to.
Yeah, I think that both sides need to butt out. They need to get out of the talking about, you know, or politicizing a health issue.
Yep, I agree. So let's move on to some work-related challenges. How do you think COVID impacted your work? Did you lose work? Did you receive pay cut?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I had made investment for my current work, which is the wedding business, and I had made plans to phase out my actual day work, my 9 to 5, and yeah, like that I definitely took a hit because there were contracts that were just dropped because they couldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Either the venue said, okay, we can have it, or the state, the governor said, okay, we can't have any gatherings more than, I think it was 11 people or 10 people, something like that.
Yep.
And that was, yeah, I definitely took a hit with the whole wedding thing. Luckily, it's coming back. I'm not working that much because people are just starting to, do the bookings, and the events are not gonna be until late this year or next year. But it's okay. I mean, I've been uh, I've been having to adjust financially to make better decisions financially. Um, so yeah, it's been kind of a positive thing because I'm usually terrible with money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's made you like buckle down and be like, all right, well now we
A
really.
little bit, a little bit. I still sometimes do like, like I'll buy some sneakers or yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
I'll splurge a little bit, but no, like overall, I think it's made me just a little bit more responsible.
Oh, that's good. So you answered my question already about how if you had any concerns about finances. um, it's made you like a little budget a little better.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm more budget conscious. Um, yeah, I think ahead. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need money for this later. It's definitely because I know the influx is not the same. The influx of revenue is not the same.
yeah,
It's getting better. Everything, appears to be going back. But I'm not gonna be shocked if, like, maybe 6 months later, they say, okay, well, the variant, the vaccines are not, working with. I'm not gonna be surprised. I'm not saying that I'm expecting that to happen, but I'm also just cautiously optimistic. I don't think that we're done with it yet.
yeah. Okay, so how has COVID impacted your ability to financially contribute to your family? Like, how about sending money to your family that does not like live with you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done this before and during, so I just whenever I'm thinking about, I just gotta make enough to continue to do it. You
Yeah,
know, I send money to my dad and my mom, and so yeah, I just know that I have to do it.
yeah,
And yeah, it's definitely had an impact,
yeah, for
but
sure.
you gotta do it. You gotta find a way.
Yeah. So, you kind of talked about like you kind of had to stop all of your events at the time, but now that you're coming back to it, how has your work changed? Like, how have your duties shifted towards like when you're now working in person?
Oh,
Like,
well,
okay.
well, again, the mask thing is I would say is number one. Number one, not only because of the health concern, but because um, I mean, as a professional providing professional services, you can't not inject your personal opinion into your business. So even though, like, I don't like to wear a mask, it's just something that you have to do. Um, um, But that and I feel that now that the vaccine is out and there's a lot of optimism out there, uh people are just booking. People are like reaching out more and more and more and more. So I've been keeping a lot busier with people trying to book, a date. That's the main thing that has changed after the release of the vaccine.
Okay. Yeah, that's good that everything's starting to go back into, you know.
Yeah, and I mean I never even dreamed that I would have a booking like a whole year in advance, but it's happening. People are reaching out and booking a whole year in advance. And I think, you know, just being optimistic, I think next year is going to be better.
Yeah,
Hopefully that is the
I
case.
hope so. With obviously some restrictions, but I think everybody's gonna try to go back to normal.
Hmm.
So some of the last questions that I have, I think, I don't know if these correlate with you, but how, if at all, have the current social movements in conjunction with COVID-19 impacted your daily life? Like the current social movements.
Oof. That's kind of hard because um I don't really get too involved in social issues,
Hmm.
and not because I am apathetic to the issues, not because I'm uh but uh I think that on a personal level, I have personally experienced um discrimination. I have experienced um things like that, people just being jerks. I've experienced that just for being what I am, not for who I am, but for what I am. And so I take a very, um, I guess you would say, uh, yeah, I basically just stay in my lane. I stay in my lane. I don't try to make other people feel like I'm taking something from them, and I don't try to have a giant profile where people feel like I don't know if I'm expressing this in a way that. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm conveying this the right way, but I think that by saying I stay in my lane,
Mm-hmm.
I think that pretty much conveys everything. I'm not apathetic to anybody's cause. It's just that, in my personal experience, I feel that it's just so much better. And for my mental health,
Yeah.
to stay in my lane. I stay in my lane, I stay, down, quiet, and other people might interpret it as submissive or, again, apathetic, but that's not the case. I do care about, I care deeply about these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, uh, just for my personal mental health, I stay out of it.
Yes.
And I try not to be too provocative with my opinions or outspoken. I feel strongly that um, although a lot of people might care, there's also a lot of people that don't care about my opinion. And I try not to, subscribe to the idea that my opinion is so important and that I have to tell everyone my opinion, blah blah. I just try to keep things light. But it doesn't mean I don't care.
Yeah, which is like completely different from the world today. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody
And they
has.
want to share it. They have to make sure that you know their opinion.
Mm.
And I think that's contributed to a lot of the issues we have because people are not you can care deeply about an issue and still be private about it. Um, I feel that sometimes, strong opinions can be invasive. And so I know that they're trying to change things on a cultural level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's perfectly understandable, but I think the approach is I'm not saying that it's wrong. I just don't think it's effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's just certain ways to do things, and maybe.
yeah, I think that insulting people is just not a good way to get them on your side. Insulting people, calling them names, and that happens on because we gotta recognize that there's multiple sides to multiple, not just two sides, but there's multiple sides, and people have that tendency to get defensive and attack. So I think that you can get people on your side a lot better um, if you just let the facts, or the actions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Not, just saying words or negative words or insults. Um, but yeah, I guess I don't know if that answers your question,
Oh yeah,
but
yes, for sure. Um,
okay.
so let's wrap it up. Is there anything else you would like to share with us, share with me about your experience with COVID-19 that I haven't asked you about? You want to put out there?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay.
Unless it's something super specific, but I mean, I think we've all had our, either good or bad or funny experiences with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but no, unfortunately, no, nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to thank you for being a part of this project. I feel like it's really important to make sure we get as many um, personal experiences recorded for history reasons, because one day we're going to look back and we're going to be like, well, this was a
Oh
big
yeah,
history.
yeah, and definitely, I like the fact that you said history because um, nobody wants to be that guy or that girl or whoever.
Hmm.
Uh, getting into the books and being the idiot. So if there's any hope for anybody being immortalized in this way, hopefully it's a positive. It's a
Yeah,
positive way.
for sure. So I think this is very good. So again, thank you for being a part of this project.
You're welcome.
I will follow up with you about some other consent forms and everything. But other than that, we're done.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Have a good
Yeah, you too.